I do not feel obliged to believe that the same God who has endowed us with sense, reason, and intellect has intended us to forego their use. Measure what is measurable and make measurable what is not so. All truths are easy to understand once they are discovered. The point is to discover them. You cannot teach a man anything. You can only help him find it within himself. The sun, with all those planets revolving around it and dependent on it, can still ripen a bunch of grapes as if it had nothing else in the universe to do. Nature is relentless and unchangeable, and it is indifferent as to whether its hidden reasons and actions are understandable to man or not. The greatest wisdom is to realize one's lack of it. Facts which at first seem improbable will, even on scant explanation, drop the cloak which has hidden them and stand forth in naked and simple beauty. In questions of science, the authority of 1,000 is not worth the humble reasoning of a single individual. All the bitterness, all the sadness, all the sorrow can be turned into sweetness, joy, and happiness if one just follows the path of love. Wine is sunlight held together by water. I have never met a man so ignorant that I couldn't learn something from him. I have never felt that anything really mattered but knowing that things are as they are. The universe cannot be read until we have learned the language and become familiar with the characters in which it is written. It is written in mathematical language. The sun, with all those planets revolving around it and dependent on it, can still ripen a bunch of grapes as if it had nothing else in the universe to do. The laws of nature are written by the hand of God in the language of mathematics. The art of questioning is more important than the art of answering. Doubt is the father of invention. Passion is the genesis of genius. In every enterprise, consider not what precedes, but what follows. I have loved the stars too fondly to be fearful of the night. The beautiful thing about learning is that no one can take it away from you. Where the senses fail us, reason must step in. The universe is written in the language of mathematics. The book of nature is written in the language of mathematics. The only way to have a good idea is to have lots of ideas. One cannot understand the sun without studying its spots. I have been impressed with the urgency of doing. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Being willing is not enough, we must do. The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it. It is surely harmful to souls to make it a heresy to believe what is proved. All truths are easy to understand once they are discovered. The point is to discover them. In questions of science, the authority of 1,000 is not worth the humble reasoning of a single individual. The Bible shows the way to go to heaven, not the way the heavens go. The sun, with all those planets revolving around it and dependent on it, can still ripen a bunch of grapes as if it had nothing else in the universe to do. The greater the difficulty, the greater the glory. The Milky Way is nothing else but a mass of innumerable stars planted together in clusters. I think that in the discussion of natural problems we ought to begin not with the scriptures but with experiments and demonstrations. I have been judged and sentenced not by men, but by laws, not by laws interpreted by judges, but by the law of nature and of reason. Where the senses fail us, reason must step in. The best of all weapons is to sit down and think. We must say that there are as many squares as there are numbers. Nature is inexorable and immutable. She never transgresses the laws imposed upon her by God. Wine is sunlight held together by water. There are those who reason well, but they are greatly outnumbered by those who reason badly. What is not observable, I do not believe exists. By denying scientific principles, one may maintain any paradox. I give infinite thanks to God, who has been pleased to make me the first observer of marvelous things. In every experiment there is a hidden factor which may make the result twice as large or half as large as it ought to be. In this lies the difficulty of making experiments which will be of service in natural philosophy. Who would set a limit to the mind of man? Who would dare assert that we know all there is to be known? In the sciences, the authority of thousands of opinions is not worth as much as one tiny spark of reason in an individual man. Knowing thyself, that is the greatest wisdom. To be humane, we must ever be ready to pronounce that wise, ingenious, and modest statement, I do not know. Two truths cannot contradict one another. With regard to matters requiring thought, the less people know and understand about them, the more positively they attempt to argue concerning them. There are those who reason well, but they are greatly outnumbered by those who reason badly. Nature does not act by means of many things when it can do so by means of a few. See now the power of truth. It is a beautiful and delightful sight to behold the body of the moon. With regard to matters requiring